They built a hotel on my land while I was away. Not just anywhere on it, right on the sacred spot where I buried my wife's ashes. And when I demanded answers, the HOA president smirked, handed me a trespassing notice for my own home, and told me I should have checked my mail. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just a mistake. It was war. 6 months earlier, I had left my little lakeside property to help my sister up north after her husband passed away. It wasn't abandonment, it was family. I thought I'd come home to quiet woods and the old gravel driveway I knew like the lines on my hands. Instead, as I turned off the highway, things felt wrong. The trees were thinner, the road widened and paved like some shiny new development. Then I saw it, a giant banner stretched across vinyl fencing where my split rail had been. The preserve at Jensen Lake, an exclusive HOA community. Jensen Lake, my grandfather's name for the place written on the deed he left me. I drove down what used to be my driveway and nearly slammed the brakes. Cement trucks sat idling. A 3-story lodge, Noah Hotel, was framed up Tyvek flapping in the breeze. Balconies faced the water where my workshop once stood. A sales tent announced luxury lakefront rentals. My land, my view, my home, erased. Still clinging to hope, I asked a construction worker what was going on. He said the HOA president, Linda Marks, told them the land was abandoned, repossessed by the county. I shook my head, insisting it was mine. He just shrugged. To him, it was just a job. But then I saw the stump, the massive pine tree by the shore where my wife Maggie's ashes lay. Gone. Bulldozed. Covered by a concrete foundation. My chest tightened, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just theft. This was desecration. I drove straight to Linda's perfect little corner lot home. She opened the door with that fake realtor smile. "Tom, welcome back," she said, as if she was doing me a favor. I told her she had built a hotel on my land. She sipped her coffee and replied calmly, like she'd practiced the speech 100 times. "We sent certified letters. You didn't respond. The county marked the parcel abandoned. The HOA filed adverse possession. Perfectly legal. You should have answered your mail." Her condescension burned deeper than her words. I clenched my fists in my pockets and left before I said something I couldn't take back. At the county records office, the truth hit harder documents signed by Linda, notarized by her cousin, shifting my land into HOA hands. Fraud, plain and simple. I filed a formal property dispute, hoping to trigger some accountability. Instead, the very next morning, a deputy rolled up my driveway with a paper declaring me a trespasser on my own land. My name erased, replaced with some LLC I'd never heard of. Then came the emails. Linda blasted the whole community, painting me as an absentee who abandoned his property and was now wrecking their revitalization project. Neighbors who once waved now slowed their cars to stare. Some avoided me entirely. And alone on my porch that night, staring at the skeletal hotel looming over Maggie's resting place, I actually wondered if it was hopeless. Maybe I should just walk away, let them win. I felt small, powerless, like the world had decided my story was over. But then, Rick Dalton, a plumber from down the road, showed up. He shook his head, disgust clear on his face. "Tom, this ain't right. She told everyone you sold the land to developers, that you weren't coming back." Just hearing someone say it out loud that it was wrong lit a spark. After Rick left, I wandered into my old shed, trying to calm down. Buried under dusty tarps, I found an old metal deed box. Inside was something Maggie had insisted on years earlier after a health scare, a legal trust. The Jensen Family Land Trust. Signed, notarized, airtight. The land wasn't even in my name, it belonged to the trust with me as trustee, and the HOA hadn't accounted for that. I called in an old friend, Dale Morrison, a surveyor we used to call Digger. At midnight, we crept along the property line, dodging the HOA's security cameras. With his metal detector, Dale found one of my grandfather's original steel corner pins buried under 6 inches of dirt. From there, we staked the real boundary. At dawn, the truth was laid bare. Nearly 80% of the new hotel sat squarely on my trust's land. But I wasn't done. With Rick's help, I met a city inspector, Nina Torres. She confirmed the building permit was fraudulent, issued for a community shed but twisted into approval for a hotel. 2 smoking guns, a forged boundary, and a bogus permit. I stayed quiet, letting Linda think she'd won. Then came her big move, a live-streamed HOA meeting meant to humiliate me. She stood at the podium waving papers, calling me a disgruntled former owner. That was my cue. I walked forward, handed Nina the suspended permit and trust documents. Into the microphone, Nina announced, "The building permit for the lodge is suspended pending a review of ownership. Mr. Jensen's documents appear valid." Gasps filled the room. Linda's face went pale. She shrieked, "This is a clerical error. He's lying." But the camera was already streaming her collapse live. Linda retaliated with threats, lawsuits, cease and desist letters, but I was 3 steps ahead. Quietly, I bought into the private lending firm that financed her hotel. I became her banker. So when she hosted a grand investor gala under a white tent in front of the half-finished building, I walked in jeans and work jacket against her red power suit. Her security puffed his chest, but I pushed past. I laid a folded document on the podium. "This is an eviction notice. The land belongs to the Jensen Family Land Trust." She sneered, called me insane. That's when I pulled out the second paper proof I owned the debt on the hotel. "In 30 days, when you miss your first payment, I foreclose. My land. My building." The color drained from her face. Cameras flashed, neighbors whispered. Her empire cracked in real time. But desperate people make desperate moves. A few nights later, I caught her on Rick's trail camera breaking into my shed, stealing boxes of my old documents. The footage was crystal clear, her prying open the door with a crowbar, carrying boxes out under the moonlight. When the deputy came the next day, the same one who once handed me a trespassing notice, his face turned stone cold, watching the video. Hours later, half the neighborhood stood outside as sheriff's deputies led Linda away in handcuffs. That was the end. The HOA board collapsed, her cousin at the clerk's office resigned, and a state investigation opened. My land was mine again, legally cleaned of every fraudulent claim. And Linda, the self-appointed queen of lawn heights and mailbox colors, was stripped of her throne, her power, her reputation. They built a hotel onto my land, thinking they had buried me along with Maggie's ashes. But in the end, they buried themselves. Never underestimate the power of a homeowner who knows the truth and refuses to give up.